Alright, this video is on causes of the American Revolution. I'm also going to go through this real quick because we could literally spend not only hours, days, but weeks about what causes the American Revolution. So this is more just skimming the surface, giving you some ideas, and giving you some more info on if you want to delve deeper into these specific topics. Alright, so on this slide it gives you a bunch of causes: Proclamation of 1763, the Sugar Act, the Stamp Act, Townshend Act, Boston Massacre, Boston Tea Party, and the Intolerable Acts. We will get to most of those in the covering of this. Okay, Proclamation line of 1763. If you watch the French and Indian and Pontiac's Rebellion videos, you'll know that the Proclamation line right here in red forbid the English colonists from crossing that line. That this territory was reserved for Native Americans. And the British did that because they didn't want Native Americans and colonists getting into fights because they were going to have to send over troops to deal with that, and that's going to cost a lot of money. The colonists resented the fact that they could not go into this territory that was claimed by Britain at that time. There are people that want to be on the frontier. They want the sense of adventure. They want to go out and try to strike it rich, especially in the Great Lakes and some of the river regions with the fur trade. So they were very unhappy with the British for telling them where they could and could not live in the colonies. This drawing is of the Boston Tea Party. Colonists dressed up as Native Americans and then threw the tea overboard, and this is protesting the Tea Act, which the point of it was they didn't want taxes levied on them without their consent. Because if you really look deep into it, they're actually paying less for tea. This is the cheapest tea they could afford. So it's not like they put a huge tax on it, but they're unhappy with the idea of taxation without representation. Britain gets extremely mad about this, shuts down the city of Boston, the port of Boston. A bunch of wealthy Bostonians get together and they pay off how much the tea was worth. They pay off the debt for this disrupted tea. Britain doesn't care. They keep Boston locked down. Here's another one. This is the Boston Massacre. Now this painting kind of over dramatizes it. What happens, there was some colonists who were jeering, making fun of, yelling at some British soldiers. They started throwing snowballs at them. And originally there was 1 or 2 soldiers outside. When one soldier got hit by a rock and the crowd started getting bigger, they called for reinforcements from inside. They came out. The crowd is starting to swell. More colonists are joining. One of the colonists throws and hits one of the redcoats, the story says, with a rock or an ice ball or something, causes them to bleed. The commanding officer is yelling at the people to disperse. They don't, so he gives the order to fire into the crowd. And they do, and they injure numerous colonists and kill at least one. The other thing we kind of talked about earlier was the idea of taxation. There's a tax on sugar, there's a tax on tea, there's a stamp tax, which we're going to get to, and the colonists are just unhappy that they don't have a say in this. That England, the mother country, is telling the colony, this is what's going to happen, and I don't want to hear your opinion on it. So this kind of gets back to that. This is the mother country, and here are her colonies, and she's getting gold and silver, she's getting food stuff, she's getting raw materials from the colony. What is the colony getting in return? Nothing. You have to understand there's not really any benefit for the colonists to have England as their mother colony. You could argue that they're going to get military protection, but they don't want to spend the money on it. It's expensive. The Navigation Act, this also angers the colonists. Basically, England says you cannot trade with certain countries. And it changes. England and France have not liked each other traditionally, so at one point England says, colonies, you are no longer allowed to trade with France. And then literally a few months later they say, you know what, colonies, you're no longer allowed to trade with Spain. And these just keep rotating and changing. If you're a business person in the colonies, how are you supposed to make money if you're following the Navigation Act? Okay? It literally changes who you can and cannot trade with. And if you do trade with that country, or a business person from that country, you are in violation of the Navigation Acts and you can be arrested. So the Sugar Act, the Sugar Act, which is just a tax on sugar and molasses, raises the prices throughout the colonies. Why does England do this? Because the French and Indian War cost money, okay? And England needs to make some revenue back, okay? They need to pay off the debt of fighting that war. Another one, this is the Stamp Act. The Stamp Act was a stamp that was put on all official documents. Anything that you basically need a lawyer for today has to have a stamp on it. And even some things that aren't that important, like, well, I should say aren't that important, but like a newspaper had to get a stamp on it. So this increases the cost of all these legal documents because it's a way for England to make money. Colonists don't like that. And then, I know you guys have seen this before. This is a political cartoon created by Benjamin Franklin. And the culmination of all these things that anger us causes him to put this together, and it says, join or die. It's a snake that's in different pieces, and each piece signifies part of the colony. So any New England, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Virginia, it keeps going, okay? If the colonies don't join together, they're going to be like this snake. They're going to be in pieces, and they're going to die. So the only way the colonists can win is by joining together. If they stay separate, they will die. So these are a bunch of the reasons why the American colonists joined together and fight the British and decide to declare their independence. Thanks for watching.